All right, so William Prasetio on YouTube asked, which one is cheaper? Use Campervan and stay in free campsites, or just rent a standard car and stay in a holiday park?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a question that we do receive quite a lot. Obviously, you think that traveling in a camper van should be cheaper because it seems like you have your accommodation there altogether. But when you're in a car and going in campsites, that's a lot of different things to pay for. But Robin's actually done the math for you guys to actually see which one is cheaper and what around the cost would be. Now, there is a number of factors that actually influence the price that you really need to be aware of. First of all, the season is really critical. So in winter, the prices are about half of what the prices would be in summer in terms of rental vehicles. Also, the number of passengers. If you have more passengers, you can obviously split the costs more ways. But yeah, so what we've done with the calculations that Robin's done for you guys, we've done it for 2 people traveling across both islands across 2 weeks and divided them into the winter prices and the summer prices. So do you want to take it away?
Here in my notes. Yeah, so I've done a lot of math. So as Laura mentioned, I'm going to divide those costs between, I'm going to split them between winter and summer, so you have an idea depending on when you travel. Now, when is winter in New Zealand, Laura?
Winter is between June and August.
And when is summer?
And summer is between
December, January, and February. Here you go. That was a trick question. It wasn't. She's just not awake. All right, cool. So for each of them, the only prices that I have included are the cost of rental. That is the cheapest rental available plus insurance, or it is just the average kind of rental price, and then you're going to have to add the insurance on top of that. Then I included gas, I included the accommodation cost and the ferry cost, because obviously going between both islands, the cost of the ferry is going to be quite substantial. Everything else from parking to food to activities to any of that is not included in what I just did right now. But since we're literally just trying to compare different modes of transportations around New Zealand, I thought it was a bit smarter to do it that way. All right, so let's get started with the car plus tent combo. Now, in winter, you will be spending about $630 on rental. That's about $45 per day. $700 on gas. That's about $50 per day. $420 on accommodation. That's about $30 per day, which is $15 per person, which is really cheap for campsites. So I really went for the cheapest available, and about $210 for the ferry. You could go down to around $200 if you book really early, but quite often it may be a bit more. It may be about $250. So that makes a total of using car and tent in winter of 1,960 New Zealand dollars. So that's 1,960 New Zealand dollars. Now, to do exactly the same thing, car and tent, that means driving a car around and pitching your tent in holiday parks. Because with the car, you're not going to have a self-contained camper van, you won't really have access to a lot of freedom campsite or free campsite. So we're going to summer now. So in summer, I put around $85 per day for car rental. That's car rental plus insurance, kind of on a really, really cheap way. So that would be $1,190. For gas, I put about $55 per day. We find that gas is always a little bit more expensive in summer, so we put like an extra 10%. So that's $770. For accommodation, I put $25 per person because some campsite prices increase quite a lot in summer. So that's $700, and then the ferry remains about the same price at $210. So that makes a total of car plus tent combo in summer of $2,870. All right, now let's say you decide to go to travel with the car, but you don't want to pitch a tent every single day, and you want to go in a cabin in a holiday park. You will have to add about $700. So that's an extra $50. That's an extra $25 per person. So $50 per day, $25 per person. person. So we make the winter total $2,660 and the summer total $3,570. Know that this is the cheapest cabin you can get, and all of that is really at the cheapest I kind of can get for you guys. All right, now let's talk about self-contained campervan. So self-contained campervan will allow you to be able to use Freedom campsite in New Zealand, which are campsites which are either very, very, very cheap or totally free, where you can stay there for 1, 2, or 3 nights. Now, when you travel with the self-contained campervan in New Zealand, your accommodation cost is not zero. Some of the campsites are actually going to have a little bit of a fee, and most of the time you will have to actually go to a holiday park about every 3 days to spend the night there to be able to empty all your grey and black water tank, which is all your toilet and all the stuff from the sink. So you have to do that in actual holiday park, and also you're going to need to plug your campervan in order to recharge all the batteries and make sure that it works. So what I've done for this one is that I have decided to say that about 1 out of 3 days you're going to stay in a holiday park. If you decide to stretch it a little bit longer, well, the extra cost will cover for the few times you're going to stay in a Freedom campsite that has a cost. So it kind of balances it out a little bit, but I still kind of kept in mind the fact that 1 out of 3 days you're going to stay in a holiday park in a standard power site. So standard power site is literally a campsite, but just with a power plug. So you'll be able to plug your campervan and recharge everything, and to empty your grey and black water, you'll be able to do that in a holiday park. All right, I know I'm talking a little bit fast right here, but you are able to replay this video as often as you want, and I'm going to try to slow down right here. I just realized I was talking too fast. Okay, so same thing for the self-contained campervan. I have split that between winter and summer. All right, so in winter, you are likely to spend about $140 per day to rent a self-contained RV, a self-contained campervan. That would be a total of $1,960 worth of rental for 14 days. So again, all of that is for 2 weeks, 2 people. And now for gas, you are likely to spend about $68 a day. It is more expensive, about 50% more expensive to run an RV than running a car, but I did increase it just by 35% just to balance things out, like maybe you're going to drive less, so I wasn't sure, so I can balance this one out a little bit. For accommodation, I decided to give you 5 days in accommodation out of 14. That gives you a nice 1 day out of 3, and I put that at $30 per day in a powered site. This is the cheapest you can get in New Zealand. That's $150, and for the ferry, it's going to be about $300. Know that most of the time it might be about $350 with a big RV, but sometimes you can get a really good deal at about like $290, $270 even sometimes. So to balance that out, I put it around $300. So that makes a total of using a self-contained campervan in New Zealand for 14 days for 2 people at $3,355. Now in summer, you're likely to spend about $250 per day to rent a campervan or RV self-contained. So that's $3,500. You are likely to spend about $75 a day on gas, so that's going to be $1,040. You're likely to spend about $250 on accommodation. That's 5 days at $50 per day in a powered site in a holiday park. That's $250, and the ferry about the same price. I put it at $300, but it can be a little bit more. That makes a total of $5,090. So now just to recap, if you compare car plus tent, at the cheapest you can get is $1,960 in winter, $3,355 in winter for self-contained camper van. So consider those two ones. It's almost 1 to 2 as a ratio. So it's so much cheaper to get yourself a car. In summer, it's about the same thing. It's $2,870 for the car and tent, and $5,090 for the campervan. So if you consider that you are saving almost $2,000 in summer, that is a lot of moolah, my friend. That's a lot of moolah. You can do a lot of activities, you can treat yourself, you can have a lot of really amazing food, and on top of that, you're going to spend much less on gas, so you're going to have a much lower impact on the planet. So usually car plus a holiday park, even car plus motel, car plus hotel. I actually did a quick calculation. Car plus hotel was a little bit cheaper than self-contained campervan again. So you've got to keep that in mind. when planning your trip. And all the prices that I gave you right here was for 2 passenger, 2 weeks, and they were all in New Zealand dollars. So that will help you kind of figure this one out. Obviously, you know, a bit of a disclaimer right here. It's the calculation that I did myself. You can always find a little bit cheaper. You can always find much more expensive. There is always kind of a balance right here, but it should give you a general idea of what kind of prices to expect when traveling in New Zealand and when you want to compare car versus campervan for your trip. There you go.
And to help you guys out further, we will put some links to some articles in the description below, sort of outlining the different costs to consider when hiring a campervan or a car. So we'll link up to an article with more information on that in the description below. And we'll link up to a video we did on 20 ways to save money on car rental.
Yeah, why not? Thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe.